welcome everybody to the October 26, 2021 workshop meeting for Verona Borough Council. We start with the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Christine.
President Dr. Nancy Carpenter,
Present.
Vice President Dave Matlin,
Present.
Janet Loalbo, present, Sylvia Provenza,
Present.
Trish Frederick Showalter,
Present.
Raymond Suchovich,
I'm here.
Joseph Warren,
Present.
David Recupero,
Here.
Christine Giron, present.
Okay, at this point, does anybody have any emergency additional agenda items to add to the agenda?
No.
No, good. So this agenda is a little different from 2 weeks ago. So bear with us as we jump around with this before we settle on what our final, the final way we're going to present this. But for tonight's purposes, we're going to have discussion items from community groups and members of the public first. And this is sort of in place of the registered comments. So for right now, what we have on the agenda is just some information from Trish about the Light Up Night activities.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. As alluded, I was asked just to give a short update on what's happening this year for Light Up Night, Saturday, November 20th. As I think just about everyone here will recall, 2 years ago in 2018, we began to really try to build up the pre-parade activities here in Verona. We're trying to keep the start of the annual Hometown Holiday Parade in Verona, and instead of competing with Oakmont for the evening, we thought we could just gradually add more to the day, hopefully keep people coming here during the day and experiencing both towns throughout the evening. So this year, I thought it would be a really lovely addition to have a trolley to easily transport people between the twin boroughs. So I reached out to those who had worked on the event in 2018, most notably Jen Waltzer from Intergroup, who could not be here tonight, as well as Stephanie Garibay from Edda's. And we thought we would formalize this year's activities and call it a small committee that Sylvia Provenza is also a part of, which we are calling the Jolly Jamboree. So this year, we're excited that we also have, of course, the 150th celebration. So in addition to additional activities, we the community group.
I guess upstairs and left them.
Yeah.
Do the time capsule dedication. So may I screen share?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, so we are still finalizing some of our material, but we have had some really nice help from Kimberly Roller creating a graphic, and Jen Waltzer is putting together a website that will detail all the activities in Verona. But in overview right now, beginning at 12 o'clock, we'll have some low-key activities, most notably the cookie and window decorating contest tour that we did in 2018, as well as a few additional ads, including hot cocoa here at Railroad Park. At 1:30, the Western Pennsylvania Center for the Arts Academy String Quartet will be performing here. At 2:30, Elias Corey, who many of you may have seen in the area, he will be performing from 2:30 to 3:30. That's being sponsored by Patty's Pink Paws. And at 3:30, we'll be welcoming our own Mayor Dave Recupero and the Verona Community Group to do the VCG 150th Time Capsule dedication, followed by the ornament decorating contest winners announcement. And also the tree trimming, and of course the parade at 5. I forgot to say the trolley will start at 3 and will run to 11. And other activities that will be going on include a holiday movie after the parade that will be run by Parks and Recreation. And during the day, we'll also be collecting toys through LBAF's holiday toy drive. And the Garden Club will also be doing their holiday plant sale. So I hope I'm not forgetting anything, but I just wanted to let everyone know the latest about what's happening. The committee will probably have a few asks from the borough that we'll finalize probably by our November business meeting. But at this time, we will probably ask to hang this banner at the Railroad Pavilion if possible, And we may ask for DPW's help in setting up the chamber's tent and possibly some chairs for the activities as well. So that's all I have. Are there any questions?
I have one question. Chief asked me today if I had any specific details about logistics, basically, because he needs to make the schedule for November.
Okay.
And so if you can share this or any additional details you have with me about,
Yeah.
where there might be larger groups of people gathering at any given time, I
Absolutely.
can pass that along to him so he can adequately staff for the event.
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we're going to move on to discussion items from advisory boards and commissions. And this includes Planning Commission, Shade Tree Commission, Parks and Rec Board, Civil Service Commission, and Emergency Management Committee. And I'm just going to start off briefly by saying Laura Jacko would be talking about the Shade Tree Commission tonight, but she's out of town. And she asked me to speak in her place. She was hoping to have Bridget Seary be reappointed, or at least be considered to be reappointed back onto the Shade Tree Commission. But I've been doing some research about what's going on with the Shade Tree Commission, what happened when and with who. And some of what went on with the Shade Tree Commission happened in November of 2019. And it was the one meeting where our recording camera and our recording in the back room there failed. So we had no recording for that. So I'm still talking to people, doing some research, trying to find out exactly what's happening with the Shade Tree Commission, who's on it, who's not on it, when they were appointed, how long is their term. So anybody who knows anything or remembers anything about the Shade Tree Commission, if you could get with me and or Laura when she's back in town, so we can piece this back together. It's like putting a puzzle together. And I would love to have Bridget Seary added to the Shade Tree Commission. I've heard that maybe Kim Roller is on the Shade Tree Commission, but I can't get anyone to be able to tell me for sure 100% they remember that happening. And I did talk to Rhea today, and I do remember us discussing it and then saying, well, maybe we should put some information out to the public in case there's other interested people. And then COVID hit, or, resignations hit, or whatever happened, and we got waylaid and didn't get back to that. So not sure that Rhea was ever officially appointed onto the Shade Tree Commission. So we need to piece that back together. But it is written in the ordinances as a 5-person commission. For many years, it only had 3 people being on it. And then we discovered it should be 5 people. Then they were going to make it 3 people. Then they decided to keep it as 5 people and fill in the spots. But I'd like to find out where exactly we are, and then we can fill in all those spots the way it needs to be done appropriately. So that's where we are with the Shade Tree Commission. Stay tuned. We'll figure it out. And with that, I think that there's some information from the Planning Commission that Mr. Gould, who's the chair of the Planning Commission, would like to do presentations. Thank you.
For you guys that don't know me, my name is Daniel Gould. Been head of planning for, I would say, 20 some odd years.
And your address, please?
My address is 900 First Street, Verona.
900?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
So years ago, there's been talk of doing a comprehensive plan for Verona, and it's been discussed and brought to planning a couple times and never really got off the ground much. Mike Forback, within the last year during the pandemic, formed a comprehensive planning committee, which I was a part of, tried to get the thing rolling. Mike is no longer with council and everything. So it's kind of, we were trying to pick up the torch and run with it. The thing is, we don't have a comprehensive plan. I think it would be very beneficial for Verona to have this. It would help us both socially, economically. We could protect ourselves from the properties we have. And also, when we go to apply for other grants, that a lot of times it's kind of almost like a prerequisite. They always say, what kind of comprehensive plan you have? Verona, we're lost, we don't have one. We really, I think you need to move forward on this now. We've done some research, we've been talking about this thing. What we're looking to do is try to apply for a MAP grant for $100,000. Now, what that would mean that the borough, they would get 50%, we would have to match 50%. We presently have a transportation grant in place, which was $18,000. Now, that 18,000 will come off of our 30. So now we're off of our 50, I'm sorry. So we'd be looking at 32,000. Now this can be spread over a couple of years. So basically what from the borough we'd be looking at is trying to earmark our budget about 16 grand for a couple of years in the year 22, 23. Also, I think what's really important right now is, I'll be honest, this is new for me. David, you guys all know I've been on planning, mainly subdivisions and property things. This is new, but also we have Trish involved. We have Christine, we just brought on board, who's a lot more knowledgeable than I am, and I'll admit it. Also, we have Red, who's been doing a lot of research. I think we have a team right now, and I think the time is right for us to try to move forward and get this thing going. And again, it just, want to see if you guys, if you can find some money in the budget. No, I have no idea what your budgets are, but I think, like I said, the time is right. Verona's been going strong. We're growing. We got a couple of breweries, got nice businesses coming. I think, I said the people we have in place to, grab the bull by the horns and move this thing forward, I think is now is the time.
Are you open for questions?
Sure.
I just am wondering, is this money being spent over 2 years or 3 years?
I believe it'd be over 3 years.
3 years? Okay. And do you have any more details about what you guys want to do in terms of applying for it? When, what's the
Yeah,
schedule?
right now, again, we have to apply for, we're hoping if we don't get it, then, we start over again next year and try it again. But the ideal timeline right now is for us to try to get something in place. I present to you guys now. We want to start working on the application during November, December, put a draft together in January, and go ahead and submit our application in February. They award in March. So we'd like to try to run one for this year. If it doesn't work out, we get declined, we can learn from it, find out what we didn't do correctly, adjust it, and then come back again next year and try again before following March of 2022.
It's on, I'm seeing this now, it's on here. Okay. Anybody else on council have any questions? Okay,
Can I speak?
I guess, yeah.
Dan, when you're saying $100,000, have you actually found different companies and because there's a lot of companies out there that do that?
Yes, we've done some research, but right now, we have a few companies that look really good for us.
Okay.
But right now, we got, the first thing is make sure we're good with doing it, and then,
Because the price tag of $100,000, where's that coming from?
well, Mike could actually start one at 70. And we're for 100, because 70 might sound a little light. I'm hoping we get approved for 100, if we don't, if we get approved for 70, then we'd be 35 minus the 18.
But you have companies for sure, like, shouldn't there be a business proposal from different companies so we can compare prices and see what is each company going to do for us?
Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So that's,
Would that be done first before we do the money, or, I don't know?
why, you think we make sure you guys are gonna be able to, they're gonna be able to help support us, because if we can't come up with the matching money, then where am I at? Kind of, I don't want to get the cart before the horse, kind of.
Right, okay, I don't know, I'm not making myself clear, but okay.
I mean, we have listened to some proposals when Mike was taking care. We have heard some propositions and stuff, so we do have an idea of what some of these companies are offering.
Yeah, but do we have ideas what we actually need? You know what I mean?
Again, I think let's try to get the grant and then everyone will have ideas because we'll, at the time that we have a few ideas, but I think we'll be reaching out to council, to borough. People have pet projects or whatever, we'll have to then decide what would be our best way of moving forward with the money. I kind of think we should get the money in place before we go on our wish list, but yeah.
Dan, I think we did talk about doing an RFQ though, before we would submit.
Okay.
So we had discussed, and it was suggested by DCED, to your point, Rhoda, to at least do the RFQ, the request for quotes, before submitting. So we would have an actual estimate. We
I
could do
just
a full
don't- Yeah, I
RFP.
just, I've approached other little municipalities like Aspen, it just seemed like they did it somewhat differently.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm questioning. You know, I would think that you want an idea before you ask for an amount. You know, to compare different companies, like. Yeah, I don't. I'm confused. That's a-
Red might have some
Yeah,
information.
We have talked to different companies about it.
Okay,
What we're trying to do here is make sure borough and the council are behind it, that if we get the grant, they are gonna come up with the matching money to do it,
okay.
instead of, okay, we go through all the work of getting a grant, and then the borough saying, we don't have enough money to match it.
Right, okay, but you do have a more concrete idea saying, oh gosh, this is gonna be at least
Oh, yes.
$2,000.
Oh, yeah.
So you have numbers,
Yeah,
a
Yes.
concrete idea of what you know.
yeah, we know like a current a pathway where we want to go, but this is our first step.
So you already designed an outline of what we need?
Now,
Okay,
we talked to different consulting companies and discussed and talked about what the money involved would be. Like I said, we're trying to make sure that the borough is fully behind it and will come up with the money to match what we get.
we're not a small municipality. So one of these big numbers, I know, like, for example, Oakmont, I could see 50,000. They were doing things on a larger basis, that's why I was wondering.
No,
Yeah, I'm sure ours will be definitely scaled up from something they would be doing.
The quotes we got, 70 were very low and they're providing much help to us.
Yeah, we-
So I'm sure you know you can show my question.
Okay, so does anyone on council have any other concerns or questions, including the mayor or borough secretary? So I guess I'm unclear, is what you're asking is for us, is like to put this in the budget? Is that what you're asking?
Try to, yeah, could you, is it be possible for us to have this money earmarked over next 2 years' budgets? for this
Well,
stuff?
yeah, and I don't know until we get the budget completed,
Mhm.
that we will have any way of knowing how to answer that question.
I just kind of want to present it, so you guys know what we're working on right now
Mhm.
and what our visions are.
Dan, I think we actually meant for 2023 and 2024.
Yeah, because we'd be applying in 22, so it would be right 23 and 4. So it wouldn't have to be this budget.
Correct.
Right.
But coming down the road.
Right.
So let me, since I'm working on that document pretty intimately, let me make sure I understand. So you are basically making an assumption that you would be able to have a comp plan written for $100,000, 50,000 of which you would hope is funded by the MAP grant. 18,000 of the local match could be with the Walk Works grant if the timing works out,
Correct.
leaving the balance to be evenly divided between the 2023 and the 2024 budget.
Yes.
Thank you. So I'm not promising anything. I'm just. I just
No,
wanna
no,
know
I
what-
understand. No, I understand. Again, I'm just trying to play a scene what we're trying to do here. That's all.
Would you be able to explain more what the MAP grant is? Because I don't know if that was covered here. I'm trying to follow along in the PowerPoint, and I don't know if everyone on council or in the public knows what what that entails, and I guess maybe what the planning commission's vision for what the process for actually, say the money is awarded and we were to go, it's like, what does that process of the comprehensive plan look like to?
Well, I think that point be like working with you guys a lot and also some community input to what projects we'd want to use. Like a couple of things we throw, like developing the bayfront or the riverfront here, maybe working on a bike trail, that is safer biking through Verona and Oakmont. There's just a couple of the ideas. We also, with the map, the thing we also want to worry about is protect the existing property, the larger properties right now. Like say something happened to Bunning, to make sure, we have things in place to protect that property from the borough, for us being liable.
Okay,
And I mean, like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of projects in time we could work on and discuss and utilize.
yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I know Christine, you have experience with comprehensive plans. Does this make sense to you? I mean, just from is this typical, I guess, or?
In my experience, comprehensive plans tend to be like very high level documents that sort of set the vision for the entire community over, a fairly long trajectory, 20 years, even some of them I've seen 30 years, which is a lot. And then they get updated in between. And so out of the comprehensive plan then falls things like strategic plans. So from my experience, things like the WalkWorks grant actually is more like a strategic plan, which is part of that would fall out of a comprehensive plan as opposed to being the transportation element within the comp plan. If that makes sense. So like there are different elements within the comprehensive plan. There'll be like a demographic section where there's an analysis done about, who lives in the community, how have incomes changed, how have occupations changed, things like that. Oh, and then like over time. So you can say, okay, our community is getting older, it's getting younger, it's getting richer, it's getting poorer, it's getting both richer and poorer. And so you really understand the community and, some of the long-term needs that you may have. So there's that piece of it. Then there's a housing element where, you look at your existing housing stock, what kinds of homes exist, what's the quality of the housing, are there vacant parcels that need demolished, are there vacant parcels that are still rehabable, and sort of looking at these like broad, like getting the lay of the land and then using that to figure out where do you want to go. And then out of the housing element may fall like a slum and blight plan where, and I'm like slightly pontificating now because I really would love us to do this at some point in the next couple of years, is, figuring out where are all the vacant parcels and how many of those are rehabable and can they be turned over to useful life and, start collecting taxes on it and da 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 da. So that to me is like, so the comp plan is really high level. I wouldn't expect out of a comp plan to get like, here is the exact blueprint to achieve a trail or to achieve revitalization along the waterfront, but there would be, like if the community is really interested in the waterfront and developing that and having, like we're a river town, right? I mean, when I say we, I mean, like I count myself here, even to live here, like we're a river town and yet we don't really do a whole lot on the river. And so, how do we strengthen that connection if it's something that the community feels is really important? And the other piece, and then I'll stop talking about the comp plan that I think is really, really important is the community engagement piece. So, I mean, like there are data sets that can be pulled and, local data that can be used and collected, although it's all living on paper in a bunch of drawers right now. So that might be a little challenging. But there's the, getting the community input because, we wouldn't want to just rely on the census data to tell us what's going on. We want to go talk to people and say, what are your views? What do you want for Verona? What do you think are Verona's strengths? And really, and frankly, that's the expensive piece of consulting. The data analysis is easy. That's like, those are just numbers in a spreadsheet. But as soon as you have to start talking to people and synthesizing what they say and what their viewpoints are and what their goals are, like that's where That's where the money comes. Because those are heavy lifts and you need to meet people like where they are instead of just sending out a survey monkey and thinking your whole community is going to respond. You know, it's like you need a pop-up tent down here at Farmers Market. You need one at Jolly Jamboree. You need one like in all these different places just to get people engaging with the borough to figure out like, where does the borough want to go? What does the borough want to see? Or how does it see itself in 10 years? Who lives here? That kind of thing. So I don't know, I'll stop talking, but that's sort of, I'm going to answer your question, but
It helps.
but
yeah.
it's definitely, to me, the comp plan is very broad. It just sort of sets the tone and then you have to worry about all the strategic plans so you can actually do something.
Also, my understanding too is once we have a comp plan in place, it's like I said, it's also easier to apply for other grants and things when we have one. And then also it can be a good avenue to, as far as we have this in place, if ordinances and different zoning and that, it's a lot easier. You're not starting from, from page one. We already have something in place. We just massage a little bit for what we need at that time. And I think it would always be evolving, like Christina says. It's got 10-year plan, 20-year plans. It's not like we're just trying to get money to do a couple projects. It's going to be as Verona grows or whatever, we'll be able to just keep modifying it and having it grow with us.
Thank you both.
Okay, like one more thing, planning committees generally has 5 people. Right now we have 4. So we do have 1 vacancy, so we could use one more person.
Right, and
Deadline was set for November 1st for letters of intent for
Right.
interest from September meeting, I believe.
Okay, yeah, I knew I
Yeah.
threw something out.
as far as I know, though, for the November 1st deadline, have we received any letters of interest?
I got nothing.
Okay, so talk to your friends, consider it for yourself.
We had there's one girl, we had to pick the 10 over here on during the 150th. One lady signed up. She was down on High Street, down below me. That she was interested in getting involved, now whether she'd be involved in planning committee or.
Yeah, have her submit a letter. I think would be a first step for anyone else that's listening to the public meeting.
Yeah, I had a little bit of hope with her, but see
Yeah.
what happens.
Whatever you guys can do to get the word out on social media and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, now we're in section 8, discussion items.
All right.
And our borough secretary is up first.
Okay, so as Nancy said at the start, we do have an updated workshop format and approach. And this will be evolving over time. What we're really trying to have is, a section for the public and community groups. So that's like a very specific kind of stakeholder within the community. And then a section for the advisory boards and commissions, because another important but different type of stakeholder. And then moving on lastly to council, the mayor and myself. So this is, again, a work in progress, and we just ask for your patience as we, and this is for everybody, like not just for the public, but everybody up here, just ask for your patience as we work through what this looks like. And again, the goal is increased efficiency, increased transparency, greater communication, and then ultimately shorter meetings. So that's that part. And then this is something that is rolling out, not for the public. This is an internal team site that was created. Trish, are you able to, you can still screen share? I just don't want to ask Dave to do it since he's got this going on over here. Are you able to click on the team site link and pull that up? Thank you. Sorry, I didn't think to ask you about that before. So this team site is kind of like an internal website, if you will. And I figured it was just a way for us to, well, first I should thank our consultant, Susan Hockenberry, for introducing me to Google Sites, because she introduced me to it last week. And so now there's this tool that we can use internally to communicate and keep information in one centralized location without me having to fill your inbox with a bunch of attachments. So you would just go on here and do you mind clicking on council, for example? you click on council, and then there's a section here on meeting agendas and supporting documents. So if you click on the 2021 agenda, not that one, the one, I have to make sure those links on the side work there. So then you can expand down the 2021, and then here are things that happened prior to my my start on August 30th. And those are old minutes. So they're just there. So if you want to go back and look at minutes that happened beginning on April 27th, you'll be able to just click there and see what happened. You don't need to come to Borough Building, pull out the drawer, figure out like, oh, where is that book? Like you can just go here and look. So there are a whole host of things in here that I'm not going to go over all of them, but I would encourage you to keep the link that was emailed out to you and take a peek at that. Anytime we start documenting policies like we did with the DPW clothing allowance, or like the sort of who's on first with locking and unlocking the gates and the bathrooms at cribs, that stuff's all going to live on there, and you can just find it and refresh your memory about what it is that we decided. So that's there. There are some updated forms for the title transfer process. So if you go to code enforcement, so if you click on home up in the right, and then you can click on code enforcement, and then transfer of ownership, residential and commercial. There are a bunch of forms in here. And honestly, I'm hoping at some point when, once I've been here a little longer and, there's like a greater level of trust that, I can sort of just roll out some forms without bringing it, just kind of speeds up the process a little to roll out some new forms. I would like you all to review these if you haven't already. The transfer of ownership process is, it's confusing for the applicants. I get questions all the time from people trying to sell their homes, from title companies trying to fill out the form. We don't have a segregation of forms yet, so a regular rental inspection uses the same form as a title transfer. It just gets very confusing. There's extraneous information on the current forms. So I worked with Mike from BIU to streamline the process of what does he actually need to do the inspection? What do I actually need to release the lien letter, so on and so forth. And so now we have some more attractive documents that are streamlined and will allow that process to go a little more smoothly. So and we can't implement these forms until the revised fee schedule is adopted, because there are some changes to the fee structure. So I'm hoping that at the next meeting, the business meeting, we're able to move forward with this, and I can implement these the next day, because that would be great. So please do take a look. And then, and I'm not going to go through all of them. They're just listed there with links so that you can peruse, or you can look at the paper copies that you have. And then some upcoming projects.
Right, question.
Yep.
I know you send out something with the link to this team site thing, right? But let's say it's 6 months from now and someone can't find that email. We all have the veronaborough.org emails. And then there's on the right-hand side where there's 9 little dots. Is it somewhere on there where we can click on one of those things to just get into this?
It's called Sites, SITES, and it's in one of, like, if you click on the 9 dots, it's in there. What I don't know is if it pulls up things that were shared with you or only things that you created. I'd have to look into that. And I can look into that like with somebody. I can't look into it because I own this site, so it will automatically come up for me. So I can't tell you the answer.
Okay,
Because I'm not somebody else's email.
right.
As a group member, if you have an active email address into the roster of members, then you could view it. So if you were viewing a year from now and you're still a member, then you would be able to see it.
Okay,
So use that 9 dot
right.
feature. And you
So
can,
we don't have to have a link in the email.
Nope.
Theoretically, that's how it should work.
just like when you go and you find Gmail as your for your mail, you do the same for sites. It'll be there wherever you sign it.
Cool. Thank you.
And
Thanks.
thank you, Joey.
Yeah,
'Cause I didn't know.
yeah,
Thank you.
that's okay.
And then just some other upcoming things that that I will need council input or approval about. And this is just to get it on all of your radars, because we talk about being this, like, wanting to transition to a policy making machine. We really need some policies and procedures for employees regarding sick time, vacation time, tracking that stuff. Where do we keep track of it? How do we, what's going on right now? So that's something I really would like for us to work on, particularly as we approach the end of the year and enter into a new year and things like vacation days and sick days and whatnot reset. I feel like that's something we need to get a handle of, before we go into 2022. We need to, I think, in talking to Mike from BIU, talk about the rental inspection program and the regulated rental program. In my experience and his experience, best practice is to do an inspection of all rental units on some scheduled basis every 2 years, 3 years, sort of depending on capacity. I checked with Mike. He said he could do every single, he has done like 2,500 rental units in a year in one location. So he could easily handle capacity here in Verona. But that's just something I want to get on your radars that we should really think about. And that's coming up at the early part of 2022. So we're going to need to move on that so that we know what is the program going to look like, work that out with Mike so that he can, get the inspection schedule going, we can work with landlords and all of that. It's a non-trivial project. And so I really want us to think about that.
Christine?
Yeah.
How would the cost of those additional inspections be covered?
So, that's part of what needs to be worked out.
Okay.
And so I don't have the answers to that, tonight.
Yeah.
This is mostly to say we really should talk about this and, how is it covered? Mike was saying that typically the landlord ends up paying it, which of course then that gets passed on to the tenant directly or indirectly. And so what does that look like? And, some places do make some accommodations for low and moderate income households because ultimately they're going to be the ones to pay it, but not every community does that. So there's just a lot of policy decisions that need to be made around that. And this isn't a time to say, this is what I think we should do, what Mike thinks we should do. It's just, this is a big project. It's coming up very, very soon. And decisions will be needed about it. And it's going to require some real thought and, and sort of, what's the goal? What are we trying to do with having this regulated rental program? And then once we know what the point is, then defining the policies and procedures to support the purpose of the program. So I don't know if it's time for public comment, Rhoda, so I'll defer to Nancy on that one.
Yeah, let's wait on that for now, okay?
And then the last real point of conversation is the website rebuild. I know a number of you have probably been hearing this for way longer than I've been here. It is a slow process to get that going. We have to work out. There are many, many details to work out on the budget. It is coming. Please be patient. And if it does require additional support from an outside consultant, for example, we just need to get that into the 2022 budget, see if we can afford it, see how much we can afford. And so we just won't really know much about that until the budget is finalized. And then 2 announcements that aren't on here, they're just informational. The fertilizer company will be here tomorrow, fertilizing all 3 parks. So it's just an FYI. And lastly, the borough administrative office will be closed on November 2nd for Election Day. But then last time we also announced that it's closed the 3rd and the 4th because I'm at an Alcosan conference and will be out of the office. So November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, you call me, I won't answer. If you email me, I'll answer you on, I guess it's Friday. That concludes my items.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll go next. I want to clarify on my first item here. It's not, there was not an exec session before this meeting. It was a training session with Susan Hockenberry that we accepted her proposal for these services that she's providing for us. And so we just did a training on, council operations and policies and I don't know, wonderful things like that. So just letting you know that we did not have an exec session before. This was a training session. I also am quite aware that in a week from today, there'll be an election winding up at about this time. And there will definitely be some new people on council. I have no idea who those people will be for sure. But I made a copy for everybody on council. I have some extras in the back office of the schedule of classes from the newly elected officers course that's provided by the local government academy. And I just wanted to, I didn't give you one, Janet.
see that, sorry.
Because I figured you might not, you probably wouldn't be interested. But anybody else who has been on council, has never taken this course, or who may possibly be on council, this is strongly recommended to take this course. I believe and I'm hoping that the budget will be able to cover the cost. And I'm pretty sure that we qualify for a reduced amount because we're such a small community. I personally am planning to take this course. I took it before, but they always add new things. And it's extremely valuable in terms of helping to work on a council, especially if you've never done it. So that's what this is for. I also want to call everybody's attention to the time capsule. Trish alluded to the dedication that's happening on November 20th. In addition to items that is being asked for, and there's an article in the newsletter about that, Don Wharf has volunteered to create a memory, what the little card, memory card, a video of people, and calling them first person time travelers, to come and talk, get it recorded on this memory card and put that memory card in the time capsule. And he would be doing that here in the Verona, here in the building from 11 to 2 on the Saturday and Sunday after this weekend. So November 6th and November 7th. I just think it would be a very cool thing to do, especially if you have kids, because the kids could come and, you know, be their goofy selves at 2, 3, 4 years old. And then in 50 years, when they open it up and they're like 55 years old and they're looking at themselves as a kid and being able to see their mom or dad who may no longer be here. I highly, you know, recommend and suggest that people come and do that. And also that, you know, all of us might want to consider on that Saturday or Sunday to come by and say hello, hi, I'm Nancy, I'm on council, you know, whatever you want to say. From 11 to 2 on both days, Saturday and Sunday, the 6th and 7th. So yeah, I'm sure, you know, you as a mayor, it'd be a great thing to do. Have council do that. So anyway, any other information that you want to say, Donald, about that?
Yeah.
Well, if you want to add, how about in a few minutes when we do the comments, if you could come up and add anything I might have left out. All right, and then you might have seen that I put the 2021 committees as of July of 2021 on in your paperwork. I realized that I don't think that I ever handed this out back in July. And so I just redid it and said, you know, to update everybody. So that's all that is. There's nothing changed. I just never wrote it down. I couldn't find it anywhere anyway. So I wanted everyone to have a copy.
Thanks, Nancy.
And Mayor, are you going to talk about all the events for Halloween starting on Thursday?
Yeah, that will involve the police, yes.
Oh, well, about trunk or treat?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll let you do that. All right, that's it for me.
Thank
Mayor.
you, Madam President. This Thursday, the 28th, For the farmers market, Stephanie Garbe is planning a trunk or treat, and the Verona Police Department will be involved. And I guess along with the fire department too, Ray, I guess she's gonna be there too.
Nobody
contacted us. Oh, really?
Anybody can be
Well,
there.
anybody
Yeah,
can be there,
yeah.
exactly. And that'll be from 4 to 6, and I did buy candy for the police to hand out. And then Friday is gonna be a movie in the park. And James Street to South Avenue will be blocked off from 6 to 9. And Janet could probably elaborate a little more on that with Parks and Recs when the time, when the time comes. And Saturday, Sylvia could elaborate on that. She has information for the chamber. And Halloween will be Sunday, the 31st from 6 to 8. And I know, and I'd like to thank Ovi Morford and Jeff. They put it out on the Neighborhood Watch. And I will get in touch with them again to put it out again, either Thursday or Friday, about Halloween from 6 to 8. And Nancy or Christine, maybe you could put it out on the borough,
The text.
the borough text also.
Okay.
To inform people. You could probably do that on Friday. And,
You want that only for trick or treat or for all activities?
you know what, you can put it for all activities. Yeah, you can put it for all activities, starting with Thursday and Friday with the movie. And Saturday with the chamber, and Sunday with the, with Halloween from 6 to, from 6 to 8. And that's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Warren, you're up next.
Thank you. I have no discussion items on the agenda, but I did want to say, I did appreciate the workshop this meeting as well that we took as a whole council before we started. And the things I would normally report on, I know Christine, we checked in earlier this week, and I appreciate your help with working with the foreman and crew, moving things forward as our voice and singular point of contact.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Matlin.
Thank you. I had a few items here that, just as far as the budget, the 2022 budget and the capital plan, there's not a whole lot to report on that other than, the committee and Christine is continuing to update the budget document. This committee's looking at, categorization of capital items, and that's an ongoing process. We will be announcing at a future point when we're going to have a budget workshop discussion. We don't have that date yet, but that'll be coming shortly. The other item is the Cdbg grant application update. I will let Christine present. I believe there's several resolutions that they should all be in our packets. I thought I saw them.
Yeah, they're all in there.
Let's speak to it, and then I'll fill in with whatever.
Sure. Sounds great.
Okay.
So the reason that we're having these couple of voting items during a workshop and not the business meeting is that there's a timeliness issue. These will need to be submitted by Matt before our next meeting. So Matt sent me an email. I can kind of read the highlights. So the Cdbg applications need to be submitted to the COG by November 3rd. So that's the deadline. And with those submissions, the borough is required to have a resolution with each application. And so those are the different resolutions you see in your packet. We submitted 5 pre-applications, and all 5 of them were approved by the county for full submission. And so what Matt wants council to decide is, of these 5, what is the subset that you would like to pursue? His recommendation is to submit the Center Avenue Storm Sewer Extension, the Riverbank Park improvements, and the demolitions. And his reasoning is that with the way the county does it, there are different categories for funding. And so if we submit those 3, then those 3 projects are not competing with each other for those funds. And then the other two applications are the crosswalk upgrades at ARB and the School Street Storm sewer and stair repair. He said those can still be submitted, but if we submit those, then those two projects are competing with the other projects, the first three projects. And it could be that we get something funded that's a much lower priority than something else. And so ultimately it's up to council about which one or ones or all you'd like to submit. And then once that decision is made, we need to get some signatures tonight after it's presumably passed so that Matt can go ahead and apply for CDBG funding.
So you,
Oh.
oh, okay. Just a clarification, this packet with the staple, the first three is what he's recommending.
He is, yes.
Okay, all right, thanks.
So I would just like to say that I appreciate Matt's effort on all this. He's typically very good with grant applications and very thorough and diligent. And I appreciate his work on that. My concern is that we as a council have not really had a discussion about what our overall capital priorities are. The capital plan is still a work in progress, not only for next year, but for subsequent years. But a lot of these some of these projects have been sort of on a list, maybe submitted a few years ago to Matt as a request by past council members, and then didn't get funded in previous years. And he's just sort of carried them forward. Some of them I think have just come up from individual council members talking to Matt. And it's we're kind of stuck in this position where we have to make a decision about these now. And I we are going to have to commit capital money to these over probably not next year, but 2023 and beyond. So
We know the amount of monies they are, but we need to put towards it. Do you know that? Do we know that?
I have it in an email. I didn't print it out for tonight. Do you?
I have the percent match that's required. What's not clear to me, and these resolutions that Matt provided are just, he's bound by this format. It's just what comes from the COG. He just has to fill it out. So what's not clear to me is if the dollar amount that's listed, maybe a third of the way down over on the far right, like on this first one, Center Ave Storm Sewer, says $52,000. But what's not clear to me, and Dave or Joey, maybe one of you know, I don't know if the 52,000 is what the CDBG is, and then like that's not putting a local match on there. But what I can tell you is that demolitions are 100% funded. There's, according to Matt, there is no local match required for the demolitions. Any kind of recreation facility improvement is an 85% level of grant funding, so it'd be a 15% match on that one. And then any sewer projects, the grant pays 65%, and then the 35% is a local match. So that might help guide your thinking, but I don't know, like I said, if the money, the dollar amount that's shown there is the CDBG portion, and then we'd owe above that, or that's the total project price. Matt did not specify that.
This amount here is the CDBG fund amount.
Okay, so that's, so yeah, so we would need to do some math on that.
So
Well, could we make a motion to pass a resolution, and then once we talk to Matt, and if it comes up that it's out of our realm, once we find money's out, we can stop it?
I think once we submit this final application,
But I'm saying that if we approve the resolution before he submits it to the COG,
I'm confused. I don't,
we got to approve these resolutions for him to even apply for it, correct?
he's.
So
done
if
a
we
pre-
just approve it tonight while we're here, and how do I want to say, if we approve it tonight, and then Christine talks to him tomorrow and figures this first one's another just say $15,000 matching funds, and then the next one's 20,000, we figure, now that's just a little bit out of our realm right on this budget. Can we just not even apply for it?
Yeah, there's no we don't have to apply for any of
That's what I'm
these or
saying. So
all
if we
of these,
do
but-
these, just to get the resolution passed, so if that's what we decide we want to do.
But
Well,
if,
Yeah, I think what you're saying is, can we pass the resolution and then kind of renege or, not hand it in or not,
Right.
follow through with it if we decide that the money is too much, and I'm not sure whether you can pass a resolution and unpass a
Well,
resolution.
there's a few, sorry, if I may.
yeah, go for it.
There's the money, how much money do we want to allocate, let's say, to capital projects next year, the years
Or do we
beyond?
have some money allocated already to these?
Well, so this is for CDBG 48, correct, I believe?
CD4.
They go by a year, they have a account or a
A number.
sort of a fiscal year that they go off of. And so this is year 48. We have year 46 and 47 past projects that are already, in process or been completed. So those are already, down in the pipeline. This is the next wave coming up. What I'm saying is there's a couple different issues here. There's the money, how much money do we want to allocate to capital projects in general? And these would be all considered capital projects. And then do we have the bandwidth, all these projects have to get run. They're gonna come through the pipeline through Christine and whatever other staff in the office we have. Right now, it's just Christine, but there's talk of the comprehensive plan grant. There's other projects that have been already allocated for next year and years beyond. And then there's the money, there's the bandwidth, and then there's the priorities. What are council's priorities? I mean, what do we all think? What are is the Center Avenue storm sewer a high priority, or is the park upgrade a high priority? I mean, where do we rank these things, not only relative to each other, but compared to the other projects that have been committed or other projects that will be committed? So
We've been in different meetings with all these, and I'm just confused as to which ones we agreed to do and which ones we didn't agree to do.
well, what I'm saying is we as a council never decided
Right.
to have Matt. I mean, Matt took what he knew, because this is past practice that this council has done, is just Matt has just gathered piecemeal information from different sources within council and done his best. And then this isn't a knock on Matt at all. He does a great job, but it's been council has not, there's been a lack of a policy. So that policy has been, it's a free for all in sending Matt our requests. And so I'm just, I know we need to make a decision tonight, and I know this is a much bigger conversation. I'm just bringing this up because I'm seeing this come to a head with these grant applications and with others that, we need to think seriously, not just about how much money is available, but what are our priorities? What, is storm sewer a big priority? Is crosswalks a big priority? I mean, it's going to be a tough decision to try to do everything, but we're going to have to rank them somehow. And I don't.
Okay, so Christine says the demolitions are fully funded. We don't have to match that.
Yeah, so that's great
Right.
news.
So why can't we pass that one and the, what was the other one? The other ones, all the other upgrades.
I'm doing some quick calculations here to tell us if these CDBG funds are the CD part and we need to come up with the match in
Right.
different percentages. If you just give me 1 second, I'll have what our match would need to be.
I think what Dave's saying though is we need to, as a group, figure out what capital projects we want to do. I mean, like, to me, it would be a no-brainer right now to go with the demolitions. Since that's not gonna cost us nothing.
Well, that's actually, I don't think that's totally true.
Yeah,
There's a
that's what Christine
0%,
said.
there's a 0% match, but every grant that we get, as I understand it, someone has to implement that grant. And that takes time, particularly with Matt. and we need to pay Matt for the time that he spends implementing a grant, arranging for who's gonna come, getting the bids, so on and so forth. So it's a 0% match. That's great. And I had the same thought, Ray. This is the no-brainer to do this one, but it's actually not free. None of these grants are free.
Nothing's free, right?
Yeah, so, and you're right, Dave. I mean, it's unfortunate, the timing, but this is a workshop. I mean, we could discuss it a little bit. I don't know. I think doing the demolitions, we've been waiting and waiting, and we have so many houses that need to come down. I don't know. I don't know how to make that decision right now.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to,
Yeah,
I know I probably sound like the bad guy here, but, and to add to that, it's not just, it's Matt's time, which is billable at an hourly rate. It's also Christine's time in the office. You know, there's only so much that can be, I mean, I think instead of just looking at grants, we need to look at like projects. What are the projects we want to do? And then how are those projects being funded? And one mechanism is grants, another mechanism is, you know, general fund, another mechanism is sewer fund, you know, et cetera. So,
Right.
you know, we can't, I mean, we literally don't have the capacity, even if the grants were all free, no match, we wouldn't have the capacity to run every single project that ever came up. So I just think going forward, we need to be more mindful about, you know, sitting down and looking at not just, hey, this individual project on its own, but comparing it to the others and what are our priorities and what, you know, what's the best use of our limited
and
time and money.
I have also a question. It says Center Avenue Storm Sewer. What is it that needs to be done there, and how high of a priority is that?
That's the one, I believe, from Athletic Street down to First Street, where
Yes.
in the winter time, there's a spring and it's a sheet of ice there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, this would extend, the storm sewer under Center Avenue currently doesn't extend between those streets. So it would extend the existing sewer
Oh.
to cover those streets so that water would drain into the underground sewer rather than pool and ice on the road.
Right,
Right.
we're constantly
So-
patching that
That,
section.
that feels very important to me, but it's a 35% match, you know, and then other expenses, but that wouldn't come due until 2023.
Correct, but we're putting a lot of stuff off till 2023.
I know.
To be
I
quite
know,
frank.
I
I
know.
mean,
I know.
and this is why the capital plan is so important to
Right.
develop that. And it's gonna take time. I mean, we'll have to be patient. It's not gonna happen overnight, but I just, you know,
Oh, boy.
so I'm not trying to say we shouldn't apply for any of them or anything like that. I just think we need to be careful and deliberate about what we decide to go forward with.
Do you have any recommendations, Dave?
I mean, what Matt is saying in his email, I mean, he recommended Center Avenue Storm Sewer, the Riverbank Park improvements and the demos. I mean, my personal opinion, and this is what we should have a discussion on. And I think the storm sewer extension is important. It's a public safety issue. It's a DPW issue, you know, as far as maintenance.
agreed.
You know, the demolitions, that is, you know, public safety and eyesore type
Mhm.
issue. It would cost us less relative to some of the others. So, you know, even though it's not totally free, it's a lot less. I think the crosswalk upgrades are kind of a nice to have. I mean, we have crosswalks with functioning light signals. This would just be upgrading those. I mean, that's a public safety. It's a pedestrian issue that I think is important, but you know.
Do we know on the demolitions, Dave, what the addresses of these ones are? Off the top of our head?
It's on the document from the 14th of September. He omitted, I think, two that I asked about, or maybe one of them. So it's either bullet 7, which is
What?
473 Union, 5.
What are you referring to?
He's going back to
September's
September 14th, Matt's report.
558 Church and 856 Second. And there's also another number of demos on here.
856 second.
Well, there's two
Is
listings
that the
of these.
Fraser House?
It's
That's
down
already done.
already.
It's down.
Yeah.
It's down, yeah.
So then the second is the number 10 bullet, which is Act 152 demo. So that's 423 North,
Mhm.
473 Union, and 899 Fourth.
What about, wait. Did
Those are
you,
from his last month's report.
I'm sorry, 473 Union. Say the other two,
423 North
right.
and 899 Fourth, if those are the ones that he's recommending.
We also have like, isn't it 558 Church?
That's what I said, we don't even have all the info like right in front of us, what these are for.
That one definitely has come down.
Yeah, it
there's-
does.
Fourth one,
No, Church.
Church Street.
Yeah, that's really
Fourth
bad.
Street ones, there's two of them there. And
they were, yeah,
they've been here for, we've been
they
waiting.
they
for
already
that
opened the
for-
bids on them.
I thought we
Oh,
already
wait.
had the grants for them
Yeah.
and we're just waiting for them to, I don't know what the holdup
Something with
is.
the
So
county.
the estimate that Matt put together for this application, because each one of these pre-apps, he had to submit an engineer's cost estimate for what the project will cost.
Okay,
He put in for 423 North, 473 Union, 899 Fourth Street, and 204 West Railroad.
oh, good. Okay,
And the total estimate is 54,750.
So that was the year 48 grant then. That's
That's
that.
year 48, yep.
would you say 50?
54, it's the same number on the resolution, 54,750.
That's the total bid?
That's the total estimate for the demolition and abatement of those 4 properties.
Okay, so then this is not the CDBG funds. This is the total project. This is CD plus local match.
Because the local match is 0 on the demolition.
Right, but I mean, in general, that's how well, we'll have to look at the other ones.
I have estimates on the others too. I just don't have the math on how much the,
Yep, it's all good.
So in other words, this
Actually, I
is
do.
the amount and then you take the percentage, like for instance, the top one, 52,000. You take 35% of 52,000 and you get how much we have to pay.
so
That's
And the
what we're-
rest-
That's what we're figuring out.
Yeah.
hang on. So the total cost estimate for the Center Avenue Storm Sewer is 79,875.
Okay, oh, all right.
So that minus 52,000 is the match, is our, the part that the borough will incur. The
So it's 27
park
something.
improvements, the total estimated project $74,214. He has the local match of 15% at $11,132. And then the grant request is for $63,082. Demolitions we talked about. And then the School Street Storm Sewer and Stairs repair, the total estimated project cost is $40,250. Grant of $26,450 and